Chase Geiser, only at chasegeiser.com.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, I am Chase Geiser, joined by the esteemed Steven Bak. It is an honor and a pleasure to be with you this evening as we wanted to do an emergency broadcast to hype up Massie. I can't speak for Steven, but I'm pretty sure we're on the same page that we want Massie to win in this election on Tuesday, this primary election, which is indicative of so many of the issues that we're facing now in America. And I want to start just by reading this brief little article here. As voters in Kentucky's solidly Republican 4th Congressional District head to the polls on Tuesday, May 19th, they face a choice that extends far beyond one seat in Congress. It is a referendum on whether the Republican Party will reward steadfast constitutional conservatism and fiscal restraint or demand absolute loyalty to any single leader, even at the expense of limited government and peace. Incumbent Representative Thomas Massie, a libertarian-leaning Republican who has represented the district since 2012, is fighting off a well-funded primary challenge from Ed Gallrein, a retired Navy SEAL and Trump-endorsed candidate. The race has shattered records for a House primary, with more than $25 million poured into attack ads and outside spending, much of it from pro-Israel groups and national Trump-aligned organizations aimed squarely at unseating Massie. Massie has built a reputation as one of the most consistent voices for fiscal sanity and skepticism of endless foreign entanglements in Washington. He has repeatedly voted against bloated spending packages, including the so-called Big Beautiful Bill, the sweeping tax and spending legislation that, despite its name, added trillions to the national debt. Massie's no vote was not an act of disloyalty, but of principle, a refusal to saddle future generations with unsustainable deficits under the guise of conservatism. This independence has long irritated party leadership and, more recently, President Trump. After years of occasional friction, the relationship deteriorated sharply in 2025. Massie's opposition to key elements of the massive spending bill, his vocal push for the full release of the Jeffrey Epstein files, and his criticism of U.S. involvement in the escalating conflict with Iran prompted Trump to endorse Gallrein and launch personal attacks labeling Massie a rhino and grandstander. Yet Massie's voting record shows strong alignment with Trump on core issues, roughly 91% on major votes, while diverging on matters of deficit spending and unnecessary wars. His constituents have rewarded this approach with repeated re-election in a district that stretches from the suburbs north of Cincinnati into rural Kentucky. There's three flashpoints that define this contest. 1. Fiscal responsibility and the Big Beautiful Bill. Massie, of course, warned that the legislation's deficit explosion contradicted core Republican promises of limited government. While supporters hailed it as a bold win, Massie argued it betrayed the very principles that brought conservatives to power. His stance echoes the Tea Party roots that first propelled him to Congress. Secondly, of course, the Epstein files and government transparency. Massie was a leading advocate for the Epstein File Transparency Act and the subsequent release of millions of pages of documents in late 2025 and early 2026. In an era of institutional distrust, his insistence on sunlight, regardless of whose names appeared, embodied a commitment to accountability that transcends partisan loyalty. And finally, of course, the issue of the war with Iran. The U.S.-Israeli campaign that began in late February of 2026 with massive strikes on Iranian nuclear sites, military infrastructure, and leadership, including the death of Supreme Leader Ali Khamenei, excuse me for mispronouncing that name, has been costly in blood and treasure. Massie questioned America's deep involvement, warning against another open-ended conflict in the Middle East amid ongoing Strait of Hormuz tensions and global energy volatility. Gallrein and his backers have portrayed this as weakness. Massie frames it as prudent restraint and adherence to the founders' wisdom on foreign policy. Finally, Ed Gallrein, a fifth-generation farmer and former SEAL, presents himself as a loyal MAGA warrior who will never obstruct the agenda. Yet questions persist about his past party registration and whether he represents authentic district conservatism or simply the preference of national donors. Pro-Gallrein forces have flooded the airwaves with negative advertising, including controversial AI-generated spots, in what has become one of the most expensive and bitter House primaries in modern history. Polls show the race exceptionally close, with Gallrein holding a narrow edge in recent surveys and betting markets reflecting similar uncertainty. Turnout on Tuesday will be decisive. Now, finally, why this race matters. Thomas Massie's fight is larger than one congressional seat. It tests whether the conservative movement still values independence, fiscal discipline, and a healthy skepticism of endless wars and unchecked spending. or whether dissent on principle will be punished through primary challenges bankrolled by outside interests. In an era when both major parties often seem captured by their most interventionist and profligate wings, Massie represents the rare politician who prioritizes oath over orthodoxy. Kentucky voters have an opportunity on May 19th to affirm that true conservatism still has a home in the Republican Party. Results are expected Tuesday evening after polls close at 6 p.m. Eastern. Whether the outcome is Massie Stan has already reminded Americans that courage in Congress is not measured by how loudly one cheers, but by how firmly one holds the line when it matters most. Bak, what do you think about all this?
Well, I just want to start this off by saying Massie is short for a massive pair of balls. And this is important, and we did this broadcast today when it wasn't scheduled because Trump rode in on the wave of the Tea Party. This is our fucking movement, and it got hijacked by all these neocons. And the core accusation against Gallrein is he's a bellwether Republican. He's essentially a neocon, and we respect the military service. We respect the man as an American, but we don't respect the flip-flopping, like when he changed his party registration to independent and then flipped back again in 2021 to Republican after he saw that Trump won when he changed his registration. And this is a bellwether. It's like a canary in a coal mine, whether we're going to get in our Tea Party, America First, America Only candidates, or whether foreign money is going to buy seats in a congressional district like Kentucky. You know, I don't see any other nation other than Israel really quite getting the leash it has to spend all this money. This is the most expensive race in congressional history for primary, correct?
I think so. It's certainly up there.
Over $20 million. That's unheralded.
Yeah,
so,
it's $25 million. And apparently AIPAC or some other foreign interest, I'm not sure which one, has dropped another $3 million into the race in favor of Ed Gallrein today. There's just 48 hours left of the race. So the fact that they're pumping all that money into it seems to me to indicate that they're behind.
Massie has a huge hog. Let's just admit it. You know, this is Ron Paul 2.0. And if we can't get our candidates in, then we're not going to save the Republican Party. And it's not worth saving in the midterms at this point if it keeps going this way. I would like us to obviously get our agenda through. And this is not to rail on Trump. We're doing this out of love. We're doing this to get you back on track, buddy. All right? These guys are not your friends. These guys are all flip-flop, sandal, neocon, country club Republicans. And we need to get our candidates in around you, Trump. Not these fucking pushovers.
You know, I saw this clip earlier, which I want
to do this, but Trump doesn't. He got us into a war that he said he wasn't going to get us into. Our economy is tanked.
But she's right about the bullying
lying
thing.
about
Here's
the
Lindsey
job
Graham.
market.
There's no room in this party to destroy his agenda or to destroy him and his family as a Republican. Democrats do it all the time. If you align with Democrats to stop his agenda like Massie does, you're going to lose. If you align with Democrats to drive him out of office like Cassidy did, you're going to lose.
Well, there you go. I mean, Lindsey Graham's bragging about exactly what that woman was expressing concern about.
I just think it's funny that this sex scandal is unfolded right when this primary race is going. And they don't play by the rules. They play dirty ball. They use foreign money, and they don't represent America's interests. What has Massie ever advocated that was so bad? Limited government, limited spending, no foreign interventions. He pretty much votes up and down the party line with a few exceptions. Oh, let's arrest the PDF, Epstein class. Like, what position could the average right-wing American disagree with here?
100%. I mean, I guess the only major controversy was, of course, Massie did not support the big, beautiful bill that passed last year early on in Trump's term. And this is the bill that was drafted after the omnibus bill failed to pass. Remember, Mike Johnson was pushing for the omnibus bill. Elon Musk put a halt to it right away. I think a lot of these controversies, this conflict between Trump and Massie, burgeoned around the same time that some of the disputes between Elon Musk and Donald Trump came about as well. Because Elon Musk,
defending it on social media, are saying, oh, dummy, it's not a foreign entity. What is the difference if you have an Israeli lobby here that's domestic, that receives money in the name of American citizens and then exports it to Israel to then give back to our politicians? It's pretty much just a reverse mechanism with the same result.
Yeah, I mean, Zionism by definition is the advocacy for a foreign government or a foreign state. So even if all of the Zionists that are involved in AIPAC, which I'm sure is not true, happen to be citizens of the United States of America, this is still a faction of our citizenry that is actively advocating for another state before the interests of the American people. And they use all sorts of excuses like, oh, well, it's our greatest ally in the region. So by advocating for Israel, well, we're actually advocating for what we believe is in the best interest of the United States. And the only reason that we're advocating for Israel is because we believe that we have to support Israel in order for America's interests to be represented. But then people are left wondering how it is that going to war on behalf of Israel is so good for the United States of America when gas is $4.50 a gallon, when you have the president coming out and saying that he's not even considering the interests or the pocketbooks of the American people at all in his decisions regarding this conflict with Iran or this dispute happening with China, when we have Kash Patel flying the FBI jet after criticizing it for months and months and months before he was made the director of the FBI so that he can visit his country music sensation girlfriend in Nashville for her birthday, right? I mean, it's just
taking a jet for a booty call, baby.
One thing after another, right? And look, I mean, if you want to talk about the super PACs that are coming out against Massie, let's watch this this clip right.
Can read, and by the time you realize what the commercial is, you're like, what? Right. The disclaimer's already gone,
and it's AI.
It's AI, right? It's there's not actual grainy footage of you and Ilhan Omar walking into
So they're using AI ads that are not obviously not really.
And they got
well, that's why
they're putting no effort in.
They had to Photoshop.
And then they're
Ilhan
just slapping on.
I'm just kidding.
They're just slapping on a little disclaimer at the end that says AI was used in the ad, but nobody pays attention to the disclaimer. I mean, it's like making an ad for Ozempic, and at the end, it's like, hey, side effects may include gonorrhea, diphtheria,
lose your left nut.
Right, lose your left nut, then you lose your right nut and get a third nut back that isn't really your nut, but somebody else's nut. Like, it's just absolutely insane how unethical it is what they're doing. And I know that, we're accustomed to cheap shots in politics, and campaigns are campaigns, and we've even got some clips of, people that have run against Trump or been in campaigns against Trump that have said terrible things about him. I understand that, it's tooth and nail gnashing of teeth in order to win an election. But man, like where do we draw the line? In fact, I want to show one more clip before I get your feedback, Baki, on this. This is Massie responding to the fact that the Secretary of War, Hegseth, has been deployed to campaign on behalf, was one of those who came to campaign on behalf of Thomas Massie, and Donald Trump just left a glowing post today about Lauren
just shit
Boebert.
all over her.
I know, and she said some very nice things. She said
she didn't even attack him back.
Yep. She took the high ground on that for sure.
I love that cowboy hat she wore.
He's posted so many times today that it's almost impossible to find the post that he made about Boebert. I mean, look at this. Tom Massie of Kentucky, the worst and most unreliable Republican congressman in the history of our country, is an even bigger insult to our nation than Senator Bill Cassidy of Louisiana, who suffered unprecedented loss tonight by not even being allowed to run in the Republican primary. This is the first time such a thing has ever happened to a sitting U.S. senator. That's what you get by voting to impeach an innocent man, especially one who made it possible for Cassidy's Senate seat to win. Very disloyal, but Tom Massie, a major sleazebag, as Trump says, is even worse. Kentucky, get this loser out of politics in Tuesday's election. He is nicknamed Rand Paul Jr., another real beauty, because of his absolutely terrible voting habits. Vote for Ed Gallrein, a successful Kentucky farmer and American war hero who only ran because he thought that Massie was so disloyal and disrespectful to your president, me. This is a great man, central casting, in fact, who truly deserves to represent the fantastic people of Kentucky, a commonwealth that I am proud to have won all 3 times in record fashion. Ed will never let you down, make America great again. And he's been posting just like countless times today. In fact, he just came out, sorry for the loud noise there as I scroll, it's auto-playing on Trump's Truth Social. But he came out and did a post just before we got started, about 4 hours ago. He said, third-rate Congressman Thomas Massie, a weak and pathetic rhino from the great Commonwealth of Kentucky, a place I love and won big 6 times, including all primaries, must be thrown out of office ASAP. He is the worst Republican congressman in history, voting against tax cuts, the wall, law enforcement, and in favor of transgender mutilation of our children. So this is them lying again about Thomas Massie's position on the big, beautiful bill. Men playing in women's sports, and so many more horrible things. The incredible people of Kentucky's 4th Congressional District gave us a mandate to make America great again, and that person that will help us do that is Navy SEAL, Army Ranger, and 5th-generation Kentucky farmer Captain Ed Gallrein, a true America First patriot. And he goes on for paragraph after paragraph after paragraph. It's really just unbelievable.
If we allow this pattern to continue, we're going to lose every single American First candidate. Thomas Massie is he's like a weapon for us. He's the tip of the spear. We need him to win this so we can turn MAGA back into MAGA, and we will rejoin you. Because if you look at the approval ratings, Trump started this in the 50s. Now he's down. Then he went down to the 40s. Now he's down to the mid-30s. If this keeps going, MAGA's going to be about as popular as chlamydia, but we are the medicine. We are willing to rejoin the ranks of MAGA if they will just serve our interests instead of serving foreign interests. It's a very simple precedent we're trying to set here. Keep Massie in his seat, and then we can move forward with the America First agenda. It's very simple.
You know, it's really interesting because for a long time, it was difficult to distinguish between MAGA and America First. Obviously, Make America Great Again and America First. America First is a phrase that Trump used throughout both campaigns many times, especially his first campaign. I believe even his first inauguration speech was just heavily America First. And it's another story, but if you read that inaugural address from 2017 technically, closely, it very closely resembles a certain Austrian painter's speech to Munich in 1922, and which is why I believe Steve Bannon actually wrote it, because he's obsessed with the propaganda of the Third Reich. I'm not calling him a Nazi. I'm just saying that, you know, as a advanced broadcaster and campaigner, he's, you know, studied the Third Reich and its claim to power. So anyway,
They call us the woke
That's
Reich.
an aside, but there was so long where they were indistinguishable terms, right? It's like white and Caucasian, right? Or Western civilization and whiteness, right? Like, it's just indistinguishable. But now I'm starting to understand why the Nick Fuenteses of the world advocate incessantly for America First and disregard MAGA or Make America Great Again, because there really does seem to be a difference. You know, MAGA probably generally believes in making America great again, but it's willing to put America second when it comes to the interests of Israel, whereas America First is wanting to put the United States first. And frankly, I think that what we're going to see in 2028 is the eradication of the Republican Party in all of our halls of power. We're going to have hell for 4 years, and then I think we're going to have an America-only candidate in 2032 that's more radical than anything we've ever seen.
6 months until the midterm election cycle begins, Chase? Roughly?
Yeah.
We're running out of time. If guys like Gallrein come in, that's going to be another Dan Crenshaw.
It's starting now if there's a primary going on.
That's true, but this is the first primary, correct?
I'm
essentially
not sure.
one of many coming up. So this is a bellwether. We don't want another Dan Crenshaw who's voted for red flag laws. Massie, if you love your Second Amendment and you love your First Amendment, which is backed by the Second Amendment, you will vote Massie because he's the most pro-Second Amendment advocate there is in Congress. He's not going to advocate for things like red flag laws and all these things. Like, I don't even think Crenshaw wants Americans to have weapons or long rifles, if I'm quoting him correctly.
Who even cares? Crenshaw's out.
Yeah, he is out, but it's a certain archetype. It's a certain mold. And I think Gallrein fits it. It's a wolf in sheep's clothing.
Yeah. And I haven't done a lot of research into his military record. I'm sure that he's a brave and tough guy. You know, I've seen some posts that are critical of the fact that he was able to get out of the military allegedly. I don't know if this is even true, on disability, but he has 0 Purple Hearts. So how is it that you get out on disability without a Purple Heart? I don't know. Maybe there's ways that make sense. But look, I mean, you got Lindsey Graham bragging about how he's been endorsed by Donald Trump, and then you've got Donald Trump just attacking incessantly Thomas Massie, and it's like, all right, well, whose side do we really want to be on? I mean, look at this short 17-second clip.
He endorsed me. It's been enormously helpful to me. Thank you, President Trump, for endorsing me. It's helped me in my primary. It's just a reality, and it's a good reality. I think President Trump's doing a hell of a good job, and if you try to destroy him, you're going to get destroyed. That's the takeaway.
Well, Ladybug, as recently as 2020, I believe 2021, told Trump to go to hell, disavowed him. Now he's his best friend. Now he's the czar, essentially, on foreign policy. If we want to play clip 104, it's called Ladybug on Trump. You know, I don't know why people in politics have such a short memory. I remember everything when it comes to shit like this. And I've never trusted Ladybug. He shouldn't be dictating foreign policy. He should stay the fuck out of Disneyland.
What is your reaction to hearing what Donald Trump says?
I'm disgusted. Well, I want to talk to the Trump supporters for a minute. I don't know who you are, and I don't know why you like this guy. I think what you like about him, he appears to be strong when the rest of us are weak. He's a very successful businessman, and he's going to make everything great. He's going to take all the problems of the world and put them in a box and make your life better. That's what he's selling. Here's what you're buying. He's a race-baiting, xenophobic, religious bigot. He doesn't represent my party. He doesn't represent the values.
You know?
Yeah, not to mention the fact that Thomas Massie was one of the only to have the balls, other than Marjorie Taylor Greene and some others, to really advocate for the release of the Epstein files. And this is the real reason I think that Trump is so antagonistic
100%
toward Massie, because he's really pushing and he's got leverage and he's got popular support against the war in Iran and for the release of the Epstein files. And Marjorie Taylor Greene, I mean, she left a Congress altogether.
She left over
as
the
a
Epstein
result of
files.
this bullshit. And we'll play some clips related to that later, but watch this. This is a short 1 minute and 20-second clip of Massie
I
talking.
think Kash Patel's been blackmailed.
You don't think he's like his girlfriend is a honeypot? Is what you're saying?
They all seem to have handlers. Remember when Massie was giving an interview saying, my AIPAC guy?
Yeah.
Every single one of these
AIPAC
guys. Everyone's got an AIPAC guy, but Massie, which is why this is so important that he wins. We can save the party. We can stop Trump from becoming the least popular president in U.S. history, even below George W. Bush. Remember when his approval was so low? Even below Barack Obama or Joe Biden. This is where MAGA is headed if they don't embrace America first and kick out foreign interference and foreign influence out of our politics. It's just common sense here, folks. But you go on Twitter, you can see how many MAGA bots are deployed. It's just kind of sad to see.
Or if you attack TPUSA, how many bots are deployed for that? That's just totally wild.
Yeah, you get a 34,000-to-4 ratio.
I love it, dude.
Yeah, but you're
Americans is
So,
returning
Bak,
to the pews.
Why is JD Vance putting out video content like this?
It seems like he's appealing to the Bible Belt and Christians to try to sway them to rallying under Gallrein, which this, to be honest with you,
he doesn't even mention the Massie election.
yeah,
He's
but
just
the
like
timing
randomly-
of this.
Yeah, exactly. The timing is the context.
This is pandering. That's exactly what this is.
Well, and it seems very in line with the TPUSA stuff going on, right?
Well, he's always been pro TPUSA.
Yeah, young people are showing up to the pews again. I mean, do you think that he's going to run with Eric or Kirk in 2028?
I think
Or is that just something people say?
him and Marco Rubio vying for that spot needs to be sorted out first before we can make any conjecture on any sort of guess on that, you know?
Yeah.
But like perfect example, if we play clip 106, Rubio, Trump's con man. Now, to be fair, this was campaign trail politics, and this was 10 years ago, but just shows you how fickle politics is, how power ebbs and flows, how your enemy yesterday is your friend today.
I guess I should go ahead and admit, yes, my dad killed JFK. He is secretly Elvis, and Jimmy Hoffa is buried in his backyard. I'm going to do something I haven't done for these.
So these are example after example of people who have been very critical of Trump. Trump loves them now, and Thomas Massie wants to release the Epstein files, and all of a sudden there's this like massive record-breaking funding to try to unseat him, to try to primary him. I mean, it's really unbelievable, Bak, and I do want to hear what you think about all this, but I do want to play...
to do with. I want nothing to do with any of this anymore. It was the most eye-opening thing.
Well, there you have it.
Half of MAGA almost died when this happened. We thought you were going to be a paradigm shatterer. We thought you were going to go in and clean house. And this goes back to my theory.
You were supposed to bring balance to the force.
He's
You were
like-
supposed to defeat the Sith, not join them.
Not co-opt them, not take the top spot. We don't want this type of influence. We don't want to be connected to PDFs. Like, he needs to take Netanyahu and tell him to go pound sand. No more foreign aid. Did you see that clip with Netanyahu saying, we don't want aid, we want to partner with you?
No, is it recent?
Yeah, it was recent. Why? So you can stab us in the back and export that technology to China like you've been doing? They talk out of both sides of their mouth, man.
I didn't realize that Netanyahu had said that.
Yeah, he gave an interview recently where he said he wants to partner with America.
I believe it's time for the state of Israel to re-examine and possibly reset its financial relationship to the United States, meaning what the United States provides to Israel on an annual basis.
Absolutely. And I've said this to
This is what you're talking
Trump.
about?
I've said it to our own people.
Praise be Darvis.
Their jaws dropped. But I said, look.
What do you mean? What are you saying?
I want to draw down to zero the American financial support, the financial component of the military cooperation that we have, because we receive $3.8 billion a year, and I think that it's time that we weaned ourselves from the remaining military support.
Get off our
Can you give me a timetable?
I said, let's start now and do it over the next.
Yeah, they'll be off our teat as soon as Iran has a nuclear weapon.
Start now. I don't want.
I know you think they already have one, but you know what I mean. They're always 2 weeks away from being off our nut.
it could go down very fast.
So you see this parasite attach himself to America, which he was pretty much born and raised in America. He's playing a double game
Yeah,
here.
didn't he go to high school in Pennsylvania or some shit like that?
So that is essentially an American going dual state, obviously citizen, dual state passport. He goes over, makes Israel his little command base, and then just sees what he can extract from us. And they are not a loyal ally. They've never been a loyal ally. We are essentially a client state for them now.
Well, I actually think of Israel as a cutout of the CIA. But I hear what you're saying. I mean, there's a lot of reciprocity. It's a two-way street. We control them some, they control us some. But I really do believe that the reason that we maintain that relationship is to control the petrodollar.
So for me,
the CIA was established like a year before Israel was made a country.
Whether it's the dog wagging the tail or the tail wagging the dog, it's still part of the same dog. It's going to end with the same result and effects.
Fair enough.
For me, I don't even think Trump is necessarily an evil man. I've never thought that. I didn't think he was out to get us, but he's doing what's politically convenient over his morals and principles. I don't think he would have ever put Tulsi into the DNI position or put RFK Jr. in as,
But Tulsi's been totally neutered since she's been in that position.
Well, look at the files that were taken. JFK and MK Ultra. What does the JFK files implicate? It implicates that Israel had a hand in his assassination. So these things are all connected either very directly or even at the very least indirectly. It's all one big web that's been spun, and they need to do everything they can to spin the press coverage into, oh, Trump says he's going to release the files. Then you have the CIA coming in, who's supposed to be under Ratcliffe, right?
Yeah.
And to go and take the files. Has she gotten them back?
No, I don't think so.
Exactly. So a lot of this is PR moves to keep one section of the base happy, and then he acts when he thinks no one's looking. That's what the pattern I see happening.
Has completely had her balls cut out in this job. Yeah. And, I commented on this maybe like 6, 7 of these episodes ago. She's in a tough spot. It's like she's kind of in a lose-lose. If she doesn't resign, she's basically just admitting that she's taking this public, berating of everything she was supposed to stand for coming into this organization while we get into another fucking war in Iran. We'll talk about that more later and all this shit. And she looks like a coward to a lot of people. If she does resign, they'll also call her a coward from getting out, and not trying to fight her way back within the administration. At the same time, it's like, who the fuck is able to ever fight back once their balls are cut off in administration if you're not literally the president? Like, we see it again and again.
Yeah, the only way out for her is she would have to start a podcast.
Yeah, start a podcast. Yeah. Change the narrative.
Exactly.
That's
her only way out.
Turn it back around. But she went all in on it, too.
Yeah.
She flipped all the way, and it's like, and it's been opposite day in there. But there's an article right there. I put what happened, Beef, and it has like a little bit of a roundup here so that we can officially react to this. But this also includes some of the optics around like
the CIA raid of Tulsi, which they're saying wasn't a raid, but they went in and they took the documents, MK Ultra, JFK documents, likely to protect our relationship with Israel. And frankly, what I think is going to happen is I think Thomas Massie's actually going to win on Tuesday, but I think they're probably going to whack him in the next 12 months.
I pray for that man's health. I really do. He's a champion of America First. He's one of the most principled congressmen we have. That is Ron Paul 2.0. And if we can't win with Massie and get him over the edge of the hill, then we're really fucked. We're truly fucked. Because that means it's neocon first, MAGA first. And when I brought up Israel earlier, because just like the SPLC got caught funding racism, so they have a reason for having an existence and taking more funding in, the ADL is the same exact thing. So we want to see the ADL and Greenblatt get exposed because they help drum up anti-Semitism. And the reason that I brought that up is if we play clip 108, our favorite counterterrorism expert, Gorka, they're going to label anyone who's anti-Semitic a terrorist. And this is not going to be like a year out from now. This is happening now, essentially.
I know my friends at GB News always want me, because of my accent, to give you advice to the British government. That's not my job. The Brits get to choose their government. I will just say, in general, anti-Semitism is the canary in the coal mine. There is a phrase that is, across jihadi ideology: first we come for the Saturday people, then we come for the Sunday people. The enemies of the jihadists are Jews, are Christians, and apostate Muslims. The rise in anti-Semitism we are witnessing in many parts of the world is a clear signal that things are out of control and people are being permitted to incite violence that leads to terrorist acts. When you permit individuals to chant "from the river to the sea," which is a genocidal phrase calling for the obliteration of the Free State of Israel, sooner or later, somebody will take up arms to make that.
Well, there you go. Gorka just loves everybody except for the United States of America, which makes sense because, he wasn't even an American citizen until 2012.
The ADL drums up anti-Semitism, just like the SPLC does. And
they know they get more funding, the more anti-Semitism is perceived to be a real problem.
But if we allow Israel to hijack our foreign policy, like it's been the case, we all know about the Samson option, but this is going to lead to the end of Western civilization. If we play clip 109, it really puts it into context.
1 second here. I'll find it right now.
Israel has threatened to nuke London and Paris and Berlin and Rome. It's called the Samson option. They said if the Western democracy...
You say you're not a crackpot conspiracist.
There's a book by Seymour Hersh called The Samson Option.
Israel wants to nuke the West.
I didn't say they want to. I said they have threatened that if the Western states abandon Israel to be overrun, that they'll nuke us too. And I'm not saying that's always been the permanent doctrine, but it's called the Samson option, and it was their doctrine, at least in the 1960s.
Israelis mean by the Samson option, they mean this, that if their state is existentially threatened, that they will use the 220, at least, nuclear warheads that they have and the means to propel them.
By the way, they haven't even publicly acknowledged that they have nuclear weapons yet. Their policy is not to say. It's a don't ask, don't tell policy.
And going back to the JFK files, he called them out on the Dimona plant and said, what's up with you stealing our enriched uranium and then funding a covert nuclear weapons program, which I want to get our inspectors in there, and then magically he gets his head blown off.
Which is why they killed him. And it's why I think, and I pray
to think for themselves, too.
And don't forget that tweet Massie put out on February 13th. I am not suicidal. I eat healthy food. The brakes on my car and truck are in good shape. I practice good trigger discipline and never point a gun at anyone, including myself. There are no deep pools of water on my farm, and I'm a pretty good swimmer.
And I've never been a White House chef.
So, if we have congressmen tweeting that, whether it's tongue-in-cheek, that should kind of tell you where we are on the American political timeline here.
Well, I think that Tim Dillon really nailed it when he said that America is now the weird kid with a gun. And it lines up perfectly with some of my theories about what actually happened with Charlie Kirk. I do think that it was an MK Ultra operation. I think the United States provides the patsy and Mossad provides the assassin. I think Tyler Robinson was probably there. He may even think that he was responsible for the death of Charlie, but I do think it was the lapel mic, and I do think that this assassination of Charlie was largely to ensure that there wouldn't be major internal opposition against the war with Iran, which has been deemed a national security necessity in order to protect the petrodollar. And I think that Charlie Kirk established so much power through TPUSA, which had a monopoly on all of the ground game in all of the swing states. Basically, whoever runs or ran TPUSA, of course, Charlie at the time, has the ability to veto any Republican presidential candidate by simply refusing to campaign for them in the swing states. And so this is a massive amount of power allocated to a citizen without any need to be elected or get involved in the political discourse whatsoever in a formal way. He was just full of informal authority, which is why he was such a powerful leader. But let's watch this Tim Dillon clip right here.
We're not telling China to fuck off. We're done with that. Let me help everybody. We're done with that. We're not the high school bully anymore. We're not. We're the weird kid who may have a gun. We are not the high school bully anymore. We're the weird kid that may have a gun and is not hot, but is not terribly ugly. Like you might fuck them. That's who we are. We're the weird kid that knows how to get drugs, who may have a gun, and you could see yourself fucking. We're not the bully. We are not the jock. We are not the quarterback. The American quarterback century is over. This is not Top Gun. We are not Tom Cruise. You need to wake the fuck up. There's a new Chinese kid in school, and he's kind of American looking. He's kind of ripped, but he's also Chinese, and he's hot, and people want to fuck him. They want to fuck him because he's kind of got a nice cock, and people want it. They want to get down, and they want to slurp him. They don't want to slurp us anymore. You know why? Because we've hung out behind the Dairy Queen too long, doing drugs with our friends. We look a little older. We have wrinkles in our face. We're the college kid who keeps going to the high school parties.
I'm not so sure that we're on as high ground in deterrence as we could be with, you know, sort of the way things are unfolding
he just
relative
screams
to our
establishment
ability to fuel
gerontocracy.
That's a neocon.
power.
Yeah.
And so the selective service draft pertain.
And another reason why this election cycle is so important is because we just lost Greg promises. We wanted mass deportations. We wanted the traffic system to be cleaned up, rents to go down, housing to be available, MS-13 to not be in our towns, in our counties, in our cities. And we're losing every single plank that he ran on during his campaign promises. We're losing it all here if we don't wake the fuck up.
Meanwhile, J.D. Vance is coming out with these bizarre promo videos. At the same time, Donald Trump is...
them. Therefore has he brought all this evil upon them.
Elon Musk out. MTG out.
Yeah.
Kristi Noem out.
Yep.
Greg Bovino out. Now they're talking about naturalizing...
Tucker out. Was never really formally part of the administration,
Tucker
but next.
out.
Right.
We're all low IQ. Anyone who has any common sense and trying to keep him on the right track and hold him to his promises, we're all getting forced out. So if you guys can't pick up on the pattern here at this point, there is no saving MAGA. And
there were red flags all along. Obviously, the last year of Trump's first term with COVID-19 was handled very poorly.
No, Operation Warp Speed was a globalist agenda.
After the election was stolen from him, he came out with that post that famously said that the Constitution may need to be thrown out in order to, establish justice for the election fraud, and that was just very bizarre. There were little red flags, but it's just so bizarre to me that it's taken this many years into his involvement in politics for us to see how egregious this is. I mean, I'm still glad that I voted for him over Kamala Harris, but he is not anywhere close to the hero that I thought that he was.
We weren't out to vote for the lesser of two evils.
Yeah, we were out to vote for a real hero.
And I'm starting to believe that Trump is angling for a third term now, but he's going to do it through emergency war powers, which is why Israel ties into all of this, and he's backing it. Why would you derail your own economic agenda and allow Israel to hijack our foreign policy if it didn't help you politically on the other end? Maybe he will get a third term. Maybe he knows Iran's going to escalate, and this is how he gets the job done over 12 years in office instead of just 8.
Look, he's an audacious man. I wouldn't put anything past him, but I really do find it hard to believe that he's thinking about a third term.
I don't think he's healthy enough for a third term, but I believe all options are on the table here when you're looking at the end of the American dollar and the end of the American empire. Who's buying our treasury bonds? No one. The Fed is.
Yep.
You know, do you piss in your own mouth to get more liquids in? No.
It's sterile, and I like the taste.
Yeah, and they say it's good with stem cells and stuff. All right, maybe that was a bad analogy, but
yeah, you should drink your own piss.
Yeah, that aside, you can't just print your own money and buy your own bonds and think everything's while prices of commodities are going up exponentially. Just makes no sense.
If you're going to leave this squad floor,
I've got a lot in the
the
archive,
dance
dude.
in the dark.
So, anyway, proud of you for making me think of that.
That's pure gold.
Classic clip there.
But this is a good time to segue into Agenda 2030 and the deliberate bankrupting of the nuclear family unit, because no household is going to be able to afford to buy their groceries, buy their fuel, get motor oil. And anyone that doesn't have a family yet, how the hell are they going to procreate with these prices? If we go into clip 110, Iran war, this will kind of show you the urgency of the situation.
When do storage tanks run empty?
Your parts of the world, like Australia, Philippines, Thailand, you are. But the question is when and where. I still say the review, it's going to be, sometime in the month of May that you're going to end up with Europe hitting tank bottoms, and in the U.S., it's somewhere in that July 4th time period, if not sooner. By the way, the inventories number coming out of the U.S., the ones we got last night, the ones last week, I've never seen anything like that before. And I think that it's important to remember that these inventory numbers, let's define terms, a deficit versus a shortage. We have a deficit today, meaning that demand is above supply and we're drawing inventories. It's not a shortage yet. So to answer your question, you have the shortages in places like, Asia, and it's not that bad yet because you're not completely at tank bottoms. But in places like Europe and the United States, you're in a deficit and you don't hit the shortages until you hit tank bottoms.
And AutoZone, this is circulating widely on X, just recently put out a memo. Team, when speaking about unusual or historic supply chain disruptions, it's common for those who have been in the business for a moment to reference situations from decades ago. But the truth is, if you've been with us for even a year, you've already worked through one of the major supplier losses and related rebrandings. So what challenges are we facing? In the interest of total transparency, there's zero benefit in mincing words. Due to the unfolding situation in the Middle East, we're facing the largest supply shortage of lubricating fluids in the modern history of America. Realistically, middle-of-the-road estimates are for our average available supply in motor oil, diesel, and all sorts of industrial lubricants to drop by 40%.
Insane. Not to mention all the fertilizer shortages that are happening right now, totally crippling all of our farmers. Not to mention the fact that we have massive shortages of oil because the Strait of Hormuz is still closed. Not to mention the fact that there's an active coup being planned against Zelensky right now as Kiev is hit incessantly with an escalation of drone strikes every single night, meaning that if Russia really does take over Ukraine, it will be able to divert the exports, agricultural exports of Ukraine away from Europe into China, making China even more independent of the United States of America, which sets the stage for China to take over Taiwan, which sets the stage for us to lose our access to superconductors, which sets the stage for China to win the AI arms race and reestablish its monopoly on labor and manufacturing into the 21st century so that it can further undermine the integrity of the dollar as the global reserve currency, which inevitably will lead to a total collapse of our currency and the total shift of all power in the world, making the United States of America officially, for the first time in 150 years, a second world nation. All of this is playing out right before our eyes, but we've got Donald Trump posting 19 times a day about how important it is for us to eradicate Thomas Massie from the halls of Congress so that Ed Gallrein can come in and just go to war after war after war, conscript our children in the midst of shortages while we're rationing our food and rationing our resources as if it's World War II, because I guess what, folks? It's going to be World War III. This is why Massie's got to win. It's not just the practical stuff, like avoiding World War III and having someone with some level of sanity in the halls of Congress, but it's also just the symbol of it. To me, it's just like, hey, man, like, Trump, I supported you. I'm still glad that I voted for you, even though I'm very disappointed in this term. But you can't just fucking bully somebody who's basically flawless out of Congress when we have every other shitbag in Congress or the Senate that you can possibly imagine, many of whom have been endorsed by President Trump.
How he treats Massie, how he treats MTG and Boebert is how he's going to treat the average right-wing American citizen. It's run all over us, run roughshod. You don't know shit. Shut the fuck up. I'm smarter than you are. Ladybug's in charge of foreign policy. Gorka's a counterterrorism expert. And Bibi, who wouldn't even take his phone call after the election was stolen from in 2020, is our best friend and ally. What upside down world do we live in? And don't forget about that China summit where the three most powerful questions that they were going to ask and get consensus on was AI arms control on nuclear weapons, trade, and Taiwan, where President Xi explicitly warned him and asked him, are you going to deploy ground troops to defend Taiwan? Because it's not just the Strait of Hormuz here. If the Strait of Malacca goes down, you're not getting any exports anyways. You're not getting electronics. You're not going to get any of those high-end products that come out of Japan, South Korea, Taiwan. It's game over at that point, and we're going into full-on World War III, which we're already in well into the beginning stages of.
We're going to be in a whole lot of trouble.
What do you think, Baki?
I think that, now this is me going to the darker parts of my mind. maybe a deal has already been struck because we see Gil Bates going into the White House instead of being arrested. We see King Charles being given a red carpet with that recent visit. And I think if we play this clip, so right now, we used to have the moral high ground. Oh, this is the land of opportunity and milk and honey. And pretty soon we're going to be the land of bombing children's schools. And this is going to end, if this is not put in check soon, with nuclear bombs being deployed. So we are having our name tarnished all around the world. Israel's repeatedly broken every ceasefire, as Iran has too, and they're now expanding their ground war into Lebanon. They're talking about Turkey is next, which is supposed to be a NATO ally. And if this doesn't get put in check soon, it's going to end with what Professor Jay is saying in clip 111. If you want to play Professor Jay 6 billion.
In 2024, you made 3 predictions that have come perfectly true, like Trump would start a war with Iran. And you've made a series of new predictions.
Yes, and I'll explain each prediction one by one. Okay, so first, I predict that Trump will get a 3rd term.
But isn't this constitutionally illegal?
It's not. The president now has emergency war powers, and so he can actually delay the election. My 2nd prediction is Iran is now a forever war, and the United States will institute a national draft, meaning that if you're between 18 and 24
just like Gallrein
in America
wants.
and you're male, you'll be automatically put into the draft system. And they just passed a law that says that starting December, you will be automatically registered.
Which means you're obliged to go and fight.
Exactly. Next, the world will move towards an AI surveillance state. So everything you do online
Explains
is being
all of the
recorded
data
to figure
centers.
out and how to control you. And then this is the most controversial prediction. This is pretty bad. And I'll explain why. And also, I will tell you why this war can only lead to World War III. Why there's a very strong possibility that the American empire will collapse. And also, I'll show you what the Russians will do and how the private bankers are controlling you.
I'm not owned by anybody.
That's what you think.
So let's talk
Shout out
about
to
that.
Professor Jay. So maybe a backroom deal has been cut, and that's why none of these perpetrators in the Epstein class are being brought to task and being prosecuted, because you can't protest AI data centers. You can't protest a surveillance state if there's an ongoing forever war, and any fighting age male who could have given a damn and stopped this is exported overseas to go die on a foreign battlefield for fucking no reason at all, other than they don't want your resistance here. So shut your mouth. ADL will label you anti-Semitic. You're going to be surveillanced. AI data centers are going to be put up everywhere, and you're going to be put on a social credit score to eat bug protein, and you'll like it, and you'll own nothing, and you'll be happy.
You know, that reminds me of this Candace clip that I pulled. This is from quite a while ago. She says, "We are being ruled by sadistic criminals." Let's watch this.
We are being ruled by sadistic criminals. All of us, the whole world, every nation, okay? A gang of demented psychopaths rule over us, and their solution to being caught doing psychopathic things is to murder us. To murder us. So, I just want to know why, Charlie. I want to know why the decision was made to murder Charlie Kirk. A decision
this
that
video is from
very
right after
clearly
he died.
had to be approved by Charlie's friends. That's all I have. I want to know why. I think we deserve to know why. And instead...
And she goes on.
Shabbat shalom. We threw our keys in the junk drawer, and we shut our phones off. We just love
Turn
Israel
off the
so
phone.
much.
Shabbat shalom.
That should be a t-shirt.
Oh, my God.
By the way, since we're segueing into the AI agenda and Agenda 2030, do you want to play that clip of that someone caught the tick boxes actually falling from the sky?
Yeah, this is totally wild. So I think I saw this earlier on Alex Jones. Look, there's tick boxes just flying out of the sky. I'll maximize as best I can for the people who are viewing. But everyone tried to explain this away by saying, "Oh, those tick boxes look an awful lot like tick traps to me," and they're just dropping them. My wife was bitten by a tick the other day.
Yep, but she still has it.
The last time I was bitten by a tick, I was in like elementary school. It doesn't happen very often. It's crazy. All this tick stuff's happening, and then suddenly my wife gets bitten by a tick.
I've never been bitten by a tick, and I'm 36 years old. The only person I've ever seen was Peter Parker, and that went pretty good for him.
It was a spider.
Oh, yeah, you're right. That was a spider.
Cash. Spider Cash.
I'm a fucking idiot.
You're not an idiot, dude. You're the smartest man I've ever met, Bak.
Smartest Korean guy you've ever met.
Smartest Korean guy that I have ever met. But what was that Bill Gates clip that you were talking about?
Oh, it's just about how big of a psychopath this man is. It's Gil Bates can't stop laughing.
Bill Gates consistently, he keeps going on podcasts warning there will be another pandemic, and he says this time it's going to be a bioterror attack.
So I probably done bioterror.
Oh my God.
This is so funny.
So they're going to admit it comes from a lab this time. And yeah, here in this video next to me, this was the illicit Las Vegas basement biolab. Federal authorities raided it last week. And thankfully, it doesn't appear there was anything too bad in there. Just some containers, some mysterious
Here's
liquids.
King Charles.
My ministers will also proceed with the introduction of digital ID that will modernize how citizens interact with public services.
We should just get the compilation going. Should we play 116 Larry Ellison? These are just Trump's best friends, you know? Come on over. Come on over, baby.
Oracle co-founder Larry Ellison predicts AI surveillance will be part of our everyday lives in the future. During a recent Oracle Q&A, Ellison said AI will soon play a major role in monitoring society through a vast network of interconnected cameras, including security systems, police body cams, and vehicle dash cams.
Everyone would see it. Your body cams will be transmitting that. The police will be on their best behavior because we're constantly recording, watching and recording everything that's going on. Citizens will be on their best behavior because we're constantly recording and reporting everything that's going on.
Ellison's vision is for AI to analyze data from this network of cameras in real time in an attempt to prevent crime while also tracking and influencing public behavior for a safer society. However, the idea raises serious privacy concerns. Critics argue it could lead to a surveillance state with constant monitoring infringing on personal privacy rights, while others say it could help solve crimes faster and provide transparency.
But people are waking up to this shit, dude.
In
Like
cases of excessive force
Eric
from
Schmidt got his ass booed giving a graduation
that's a good clip
speech.
to pay.
Let's watch this.
Hell yeah.
I can't even begin to tell you how much I love clips like this. There's so many people waking up to what AI is about to do to humanity. Watch him try to keep his composure the whole time.
Architects of artificial intelligence. Interesting.
This is the former CEO of Google.
Yeah, that's what you get.
Whether you will help
Fuck boy.
shape artificial
University of Arizona.
We do not know. We do not know the precise contours of what this. If you'd let me make this point, please. Choose a diversity.
And it goes on for several minutes. You get the point.
Yep. So as the anti-technology movement starts to really gear up, Larry Fink has already went on camera saying they need a way to protect these data centers. So they're going to be militarizing these with kill drones because they're not going to not protect their baby. They're $5, $10, $20 billion investments. And you know people are going to start getting in these things, especially the meth heads, and trying to get the copper, the silver, the gold, the precious metals, and just anti-technologists too, saying, hey, we don't want Terminator to be in our backyard. So expect the militarization of these data centers to come part and parcel after they're built.
100%. And what they're going to do is they're going to use cybersecurity as an excuse to justify ramping this up, not just because artificial intelligence is beneficial to industry and big tech and to individuals who use it in the way that we may use it, but because obviously it's a weapon of mass destruction. I mean, what the nuclear weapon was to the 20th century, artificial intelligence will be to the 21st century. So this is a massive national security issue. And I think we're going to see false flags like cyber attacks, massive stuff happen over the course of the next several years in order to justify and try to gain public support for these data centers. I mean, if you even look for a minute at Erica Kirk's CIA ad that she made, the video that she was paid to be in, but I believe it was made before she was ever with Charlie. It's obvious what the direction kind of is from the military-industrial complex standpoint. Watch this.
We have 5 major threats that make our grid extremely vulnerable that we've presented to congressional officials. 1 being cyber, 2 being hackers, 3 being physical threats, 4th one is solar EMP, and the 5th one is man-made EMP. So the concern that we have is that we put out this critical information, and when we go over this risk analysis, they hear what we're saying, but they don't want to take action.
Well, there are 18 critical infrastructures in the United States.
So
Food.
It goes on. It's just more fucking CIA bullshit.
This is going to be tied into your car. This is going to be tied into the flock cameras. If we want to play clip 117, this is coming next year, I believe, if it's not already in place quietly.
Anything you can't.
By 2027, every new car in the US will be legally required to have what's called impaired driving prevention tech. We're talking AI surveillance inside your car, infrared cameras tracking your eyes, and sensors in the steering wheel checking your sweat for alcohol. If the AI decides you're buzzed, exhausted, or distracted, it can limit vehicle operation.
Or
it's
Asian.
a fancy way of saying it can lock you out and pull the car over autonomously. Safety advocates say it'll save 10,000 lives per year, but critics are calling it a digital kill switch and a massive privacy nightmare. Will we see the ability of police to just pull your car over remotely? Is this technology a step too far, or is this a good thing? Is this going to keep the roads safe?
And it's not just the surveillance that comes with the AI cars. It's also the fact that, like we just saw from King Charles, we want this digital ID. Starmer's coming out and saying that employment is going to require it. Watch this.
Our immigration system does need to be
with
fair.
That shadow on his nose, by the way, he looks just like Hitler.
Binding contract that our politics is built on. Otherwise, it undermines trust, undermines people's faith that we're on their side, and their belief that the state can and will work for them. And that is why today I am announcing this government will make a new free-of-charge digital ID mandatory for the right to work by the end of this Parliament.
Jesus fucking
Let me spell that
Christ.
out. You will not be able to work in the United Kingdom if you do not have digital ID.
Let me be clear. In Canada, you can no longer buy or sell a handgun.
These are tyrants. Drunk driving used to be an American tradition. It used to be one of the most American things you can do.
Yeah, if you were survived, it meant that you were tough enough to
Exactly.
be American.
It helped weed out the gene pool.
Yeah, I'm not an advocate of drunk driving, but I'm certainly not an advocate of the surveillance state because
I'm not an advocate of anyone imposing rules on you. Period. You used to not even need a license or a license plate. Remember that?
Remember this?
We're introducing legislation to implement a national freeze on handgun ownership.
Handgun ownership.
What this means is that it will no longer be possible to buy, sell, transfer, or import handguns anywhere in Canada. We need less gun violence. We cannot let the guns debate become so polarized that nothing gets done. We cannot let that happen in our country.
Was that during COVID?
Yeah, they're all wearing masks.
Okay, well, they're trying to do the hentai
Thanks for watching
virus.
our YouTube channel.
What the fuck, man? Oh, dude.
Get him out of here.
Oh, my
Les Holtz.
God. Les Holtz?
Get that 5-head out of here.
Dude, this is why nobody watches mainstream media anymore. You throw up a clip of Justin Trudeau, and then Les Holtz pops in. Hey, if you like that clip, make sure you download the app right now and subscribe to the mainstream media so you can get all of our bullshit directly to your phone every single day. And you may not be able to relate to me at all whatsoever because I have several classic motor vehicles in my multi-car garage in my mansion. And even though I don't believe in handguns whatsoever, I have several security guards that follow me around, even though no one under the age of 45 recognizes who I am.
I'm just going to make a pledge on air. I will never be on my best behavior. I will never be a good boy. And I don't give a shit if my social credit score is negative 1 million. You're just not going to get good behavior out of me. I'm going to be a miserable prick to the clankers my whole fucking life from here on out. I will never submit to the AI surveillance state.
We love that about you, Bak.
Thank you.
That's how you got the spot on the show.
Thank you.
I knew you would never submit.
I'll probably have holes in my pants, though. But whatever. Fuck it. I'll learn how to sew.
What's next?
I do have one more clip on Agenda 2030. It's about the future we're looking at, which is only 4 years away. Not even, so seems pretty pertinent. 114, Agenda 2030 prices.
Okay, we get it. I mean, they're making it impossible to own a home. That's one of the reasons why I've defended Generation Z, millennials, for living at home for so long. Like, yeah, there's definitely a lack of masculinity. There's involuntary celibacy. But all that stuff can really be boiled down and explained by the massive inflation that we faced since the 1970s. I mean, when you make it impossible for somebody to get their own home until their late 20s or early 30s. Of course, they're going to live at home and have to save up. And if it's a man that has to live at home and save up for a down payment, which is impossible to reach, then no woman of quality or caliber is going to want to marry him, because who wants to marry a guy who lives in his parents' basement? Then you have this involuntary celibacy. You've got women that are sleeping around because nobody's ready to get married until their late 30s, but you don't want to go through your whole 20s without having sex at all. And you've got these men that are just pumping themselves full of SSRIs. They're involuntarily celibate. They're radicalized. I mean, this is all part of some massive agenda to just cripple the future generations of the United States of America. Meanwhile, we just allow bills like the big beautiful bill, massive spending to occur, billions upon billions of dollars for conflicts in Iran, massive increases in oil prices, which literally destroys the future of our civilization, and not just our country, but our culture. I mean, this is making life miserable for anyone under the age of 40. Finally, by the time you hit the age of 40, you're secure enough and established enough to start your life, and it's halfway over.
Is there any way we can undo this? Like, what are the solutions going forward from here? Because it seems like the trajectory we're on, we're not going to be able to get off these rails, this pre-planned track that they've laid for us.
The only way to do it is to get off the petrodollar, in my opinion. And I don't know how to do that, because I'm not first of all, it's totally unprecedented. Second of all, like, I am not an expert in economics to understand how to transition a nation safely from a fiat currency to a real currency without massive economic disruption in the world.
I think the only silver lining is if they're going to make us this destitute, most women will be poor. Like, they're the highest income earners right now. They have more college degrees. They're the biggest segment of home ownership, obviously through the divorce laws. But maybe we'll all be equally poor, and then we can plant a garden together and then try to resist an AI data center? Maybe.
Yeah. Things are going to have to get really bad before anybody does anything.
Or is it just going to be a harem of 100 women and like Larry Ellison and like Larry Fink?
Yeah, everybody's just going to bang Jeff Bezos.
Oh, my God.
By the way, did you see that Comey's starting to pop back in? He wants to rebuild the intelligence community.
I thought he was being indicted. I don't think that indictment's going to go anywhere, but doesn't he have his hands full?
Check this out, Altman.
Add 10 years of health span. Mm-hmm. So, maybe it doesn't keep you alive any longer.
The goal of AI is to add 10 years.
Mm-hmm. And
so that you don't retire, so that you're a good little serf for the deep state, able to pay income tax for an extended period of time.
Sam the Ripper Altman.
So Altman says the goal is to add 10 years. And the craziest thing is,
but
if I can find the clip here, I think that the leader of Oracle said the same thing. Let me see if I can find it. Altman's going on there saying, we got to add 10 years to everybody's life. The Oracle guy. Let me see if I know that I have this clip.
That's such a small amount. Why not add 50 years?
I mean, it's quite a bit if you think about it.
Are they going to be good years or years where your knee's bad and you're wearing New Balances?
They want you to have good years so you're not collecting Social Security, so they can raise the retirement age and so you're still paying income tax. Just like you were saying the other day on the show, Bak, how, if the AI takeover really occurs, none of this technology is going to be paying income tax. Nobody's going to be working. This is going to be a problem for the government, which is funded primarily based off of income tax, excluding debt as an explanation there.
I don't want 10 sweatpants years. I want Levi jeans years.
Yeah, they want you working until you're in your 80s and paying income tax and not drawing Social Security. That's what they want the AI to establish for all of us. I know that I have this AI clip in here, and it's impossible for me to find because I guess the establishment deep state technocratic takeover doesn't want people to be aware of this problem. Here we go.
Picture AI is going to cure cancers and reduce work weeks, and kids will live longer, and planes will be safer, cars will be safer, and less people die, and you'll have new drugs. It's going to be good, but we've been using it now.
There you go.
So I seen a post that Anthropic AI is buying millions of rare books and scanning them and then destroying the physical copies, literally memory holing.
Are they actually destroying them?
So I seen a post. I'm going to go deeper into the research on this, but they're reportedly concerned that the physical books after scanning could expose it to copyright lawsuits. And if they scan them and put them in their databases, they're better off destroying the originals.
No fucking way.
Yeah, to legally protect
This is some
themselves.
Library of Alexandria shit going on right now.
I mean, this is what, Fahrenheit 411? What was the name of that book?
Fahrenheit 451. It's the temperature in which paper bursts into flames.
I was off by 40.
It's all right.
It's called Project Panama.
Oh, Project Panama.
We have a speaker in here?
Oh, yeah, we got a couple speakers. We got Maze Love and Destiny, two of Bak's favorites. He hasn't decided which one he wants to marry. You guys can keep talking, by the way.
I was just talking about the destroying books. Hey, Maze. Hey, hon.
I've recently seen a video that people are using less and less words in their vocabulary because the dependency on AI.
Because everyone's reading on their cell phone. It's just the quality of the content in which they're reading is retarded compared to what people were reading 100 years ago.
Yeah, it's idiocracy.
100% idiocracy.
Shut up, Mike Judge. I'm baiting in here. Close the door.
Close the door, baiting. My wife's retarded. She's a pilot now.
So we went through our AI clips. What do you guys think about the AI takeover? The good, the bad, and the ugly.
Oh, Maze is thinking about speaking. She unmuted herself.
Speak up.
What about Mr. Kaplan? You want to unmute yourself? You have something to say? See, you were at it as a speaker.
Well, we're taking speakers now.
Yeah, I'm just thoroughly impressed at the rate at which people have turned on Massie. You know, there's the meme of the brain chip swap where everyone's like, you know, we love this person, and then there's a new chip.
Yep.
And it's watching it has been wild.
Yeah, it's I think that honestly, I think the problem is there's like this blind devotion to Trump. And I hate to use the term cult of personality because I don't want to liken Donald Trump to like a Chairman Mao, who's a famous example of a cult of personality. But if you look at what happened between 1950 cult of personality, and these are people who personally know or are descended from people who starved to death during the Great Leap Forward because of the corrupt and bad leadership and the bad ramifications or implications of accountability within a communist system. Same thing happened with Chernobyl, right? So I'm not trying to liken Trump to Chairman Mao because obviously Mao was a much more lethal and dangerous leader than Donald Trump is, but he did establish a cult of personality, and there was some iconic moments like the assassination attempt in Butler, and he goes down and he's in the prayer pose, and he comes back up and he says fight, fight, fight. Those kinds of moments, whether orchestrated or organic, they do generate a level of devotion and faith in a person that will basically make them like a zealot. So if you come out against Trump prematurely or early on when it becomes obvious that there's a problem or an inconsistency in his leadership or his policy, there's going to be a whole class of people who supported him who immediately start calling you a traitor, who immediately start saying that you're not really MAGA, who immediately start saying that you're funded by Qatar, who immediately just start listening to Mark Levin and they just eat that shit up. I mean, this is a segment of our constituency, I guess, our civilization, our culture, that needs Trump to be good so badly. They psychologically need Trump to be the hero that they thought he was so badly that they're living in denial, and they will just stamp out any opposition to Trump, no matter the circumstances, no matter the details, no matter the context.
You know that Maze is having problems right now. I think she's got to update the app. There was a recent app update for those who are having glitching issues. Please do update your app and then come back in. So she's doing that, and we'll cycle her back up here. But I did want to say to what you just